Hey everyone, Duston Moore here. I'm your host today for the Wood Life Podcast. We're here at our Indianapolis headquarters, and we have a very special guest with us today, Marc Adams, who is the owner, founder, runner, teacher at the Marc Adams School of Woodworking. Marc, thanks for being here today.
It's an honor.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
From Indiana, Franklin, Indiana.
Just down the road.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. What you guys are doing in Franklin, Indiana is just amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. You want to tell us a little bit about what you do, about the school, and maybe like how long you've been doing it, and maybe what your overall goal is with the school right now.
Well, the school has been, we're in our 34th year right now
Yeah.
at the school. And so the very first year I started it, I was already in woodworking. We might get on that a little bit, but I was already in woodworking when I started the school. And I saw a need for just continuing to educate in the world of crafts, specifically woodworking. And so I started this series the very first year. I did 16 classes. Took
16 classes your first
all
year?
by myself. I had no assistants, no help, nothing.
Wow, okay.
Did 16 classes, 10 people in the class, had 160 people there.
That's amazing.
Actually had more people from California than I had from Indiana.
So your hunch that there was a need was real.
Well,
like
I was
it
already,
evident.
I had been pretty blessed. I was already on the road lecturing and doing university stores, clubs, and so on.
Okay.
And I had put together a pretty big mailing list at that point in time. And people were starved for more information. We didn't have all the podcast worlds or the YouTube or any social media back then. And really, if you wanted to learn more about woodworking at that time, there were some shopsmith stores. Woodcraft was around, Rocklers was around, but they weren't really as big then as they are today. So it was we all kind of came into this at about the same time. And so that first year, I had this already built-in mailing list of people who had attended my workshops, and so I just sent it out to them, and it was kind of a go from the very beginning. But it about killed me that first year because it was just too much.
Right.
So that's when I decided I need to start bringing in more people. And as I started to bring in more people, more things started to happen, and we started to continue to grow. And we went from that first year of the 16 workshops to this year where we have 274 workshops.
Wow.
So it's been a real fun ride.
And it's not all woodworking now. You're very diversified in what you teach.
And actually, that was my plan from the very beginning.
Was it?
Though
Okay.
my background was woodworking, I always was very active and appreciated craft. But I always wanted to diversify. And I wanted to get more into other things, starting off that were ancillary to woodworking, say like a blacksmithing class where you could come and make your own hinges and your own knobs or whatever it might be, maybe even forge your own chisels.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to get into doing glass work where people could come and do leaded glass or some type of glass work that might be incorporated into their furniture pieces. And then from there, it just kind of kept mushrooming and ballooning into a little bit of everything. And now we do almost any really high-end, time-honored craft at our school.
And that high-end term
Yes.
is a big part of it.
Yes.
From what I understand, because the instructors that you're bringing in, the projects that you're taking on, you're not building from kits. You are hands-on, raw material, best in the industry, best in the world instructors from day one and actually going through the process.
Well, this year, we have 150 instructors from 20 different countries.
Wow.
And so they are from everywhere. I vet them pretty well. When they come, they are absolutely the best at what they do. Either by their work is on collection at a major museum in the world. They either have written a lot of books or they're just known for the process or the technique that they do.
Okay.
So they themselves have a little bit of pedigree to them, and that makes it a little easier for us to be able to sell them. But they're not the kind of people, and not to take anything away from Rocklers or Woodcraft or Michael's or Hobby Lobby, where they bring in just local people to do their workshops. These are people who have a following all on their own.
Yeah.
And people will go where they are to take the workshops. And a lot of these people, we're fortunate that our school might be the only place where they teach.
That's
and
amazing.
so that makes it pretty special.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about the technique aspect of it. A lot of these guys develop their own techniques within like a very niche part of the market, whether that's wood turning or like you and veneer. I mean, everybody talks about your veneer work, right? How often is is it that you're bringing an instructor in for a specific technique and people want to learn that
That's
technique?
a great question. Well, so for us, we are not a project school. Yeah, we have projects. I mean, people do want to come and make a blanket chest.
Well, yeah.
But we're a technique school. And because we're a technique school, what that allows us to do is, years ago, it allowed me to put together a curriculum. With a curriculum, we get in and start to offer programs, such as we have our own master's program. We have a couple fellowship programs. So my goal has never been to teach somebody how to make a item. It's always been to teach them how to use their hands to make things through techniques that we can teach at the school. So most of what we do are technique driven. And when you get into technique driven workshops, for example, if you were to teach somebody how to cut a dovetail, there are a gazillion ways to cut dovetails. But a lot of the people who teach for me have been through those gazillion ways, and they've learned the better way, or they've enhanced a way that they do it that makes it more effective and more efficient for people. So by being with these people for a full week, I believe it can completely change the dynamics of what your skill set is and whatever it is that you're wanting to learn.
Yeah. And you make it very available for everybody. You don't have to be an expert. That's why you have the experts there, so that you can come in as a novice or someone who's even just someone, it seems like, Timothy is right, someone who's just interested in woodworking as a potential hobby. This would be a great way to see if that's a direction they want to go, because I listening to a couple of people who have done interviews and stuff about attending your classes, they're like, I don't feel like you really needed to know a lot, but when we got done, you knew a lot. You know, like it was that they were transformed over the week to that point.
Well, I look at it this way. If I were to take tennis lessons from Martina Navratilova, who is a woodworker, by the way, or take tennis lessons from my brother, who doesn't know anything about tennis, I'm probably going to learn a lot more from the expert than I would from him. And so even though you might be a beginner and don't know things, by the end of that week, you'll be further along in the learning curve than you ever could have been trying to learn it on your own or learn it from somebody next door teaching you. So I think that goes hand in hand with the development of the skill, and how quickly those skills can be developed is by the quality of the people that you are taking your time to learn from.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what we have is, you have a gazillion YouTubes out there today, and with those, people can go and see how to do things, but there's a lot that lacks in that. First of all, you don't know really the true credibility of the person that does it, but you're missing the personal interaction. And not only the personal interaction, when you come to places like ours, it is one-on-one. So I can get feedback from you directly. But at the same time, with the other people that are in a workshop, they also have opinions and ideas and do things. And it becomes a collective of learning, not just from one person, and not just from the environment that they're in, but from being around the interaction they have with so many people that are like-minded. And it's a completely different way to learn than just watching something on a screen. I mean, interaction is everything.
It is. And the people who kind of want that introduction, I think there's no better way to get introduced to something than by the people who do it all day, every day, dedicated their lives to it, and have gone through all of the headaches, I guess, so that you kind of don't have to. I mean, that's a big deal.
I'm a person there. I mean, from when I started in the late 70s to somewhere in probably the mid-2000s, I was the president of the Mistake Club in the United States of America. I'm just a secretary-treasurer today. So what happens with these guys is they were all part of that program too, where they made mistakes, they learned from them, and then they moved on. And then they can help, again, people learn how to avoid those kind of mistakes. And in woodworking, though we're fortunate that wood is a natural resource, so there's more of it.
Absolutely.
But there are costs involved. There's costs of the materials, there's cost of the power it takes to prepare the material, and then there's human risks involved. And so our goal is to work you through all of those things so that, so that at the end of the week, regardless of where you came in at the beginning of the week, you're in a different place.
Yeah. So let's talk about kind of how you got into this a little bit, a little more of the background. I know very touching story that I've seen about a shopsmith and your dad, and just a beautiful, touching story, but that got cut too short.
Yeah.
You want mind talking about that?
No, not at all. Yeah. Not at all. Yeah. So for me, as a kid growing up, my dad was a builder, but he was a hobbyist woodworker. And it was, I always thought that he made furniture for me and my brother as kids because we were so poor. But in fact, he enjoyed woodworking.
Yeah.
Now, if you take yourself back to that time period, and earlier I took ourselves back to 30 plus years ago when Rocklers and Woodcraft and all those were just really coming on the scene. Back in his day, there was no fine woodworking. There was no Wood-Mizer. Back then, if you wanted to learn more about woodworking, you either went to your high school shop program or you subscribed to Handyman magazine.
Handyman magazine.
So that's what it was. So a lot of those people in that generation, they came up through what we call the industrial art revolution, which is where after World War II we started to incorporate a lot of that into the school systems. And so he had this great hobby of working with wood. So as a kid, I saw that, but he never really did let me do anything in the shop because he was afraid to cut my fingers off. But when I was 6 years old, he bought for me for Christmas a little Mattel mini station. It was like a little shopsmith, and it was all made out of metal then. They still sell them today, but they're plastic. So you could tip it upright, you could drill a hole. You could lay it down, you could turn on a lathe. You could put a sander on it. Had a little reciprocating jigsaw blade.
So
that
it
went
was
up and
a
down.
Mattel shopsmith.
It did everything. And I was 6 years old when he got that for me. When I was in high school, at Christmas, he gave me a bandsaw for Christmas. Now, it had my name on it, but I think he really bought it for him. But it was still trying to figure out a way to get me into the shop. Now, that wasn't what I wanted to do or really enjoyed, was woodworking. I didn't do much of it. And again, he kept me away from the power equipment. So my goal in life at that age was I wanted to become a teacher, I wanted to coach, and I wanted to become a youth minister. And so that's the path I took where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And so I went to a local university here, and as soon as I graduated, that particular year in Indianapolis, they did something called rifting, and a lot of teachers lost their jobs. And so they brought in teachers with more experience, got rid of ones with less experience. And if you were looking for a new job as an unexperienced teacher right out of college, you didn't get a job.
That's a tough year to
It was
get
tough.
into teaching,
it was a really tough year. But that's okay. Back then you had to have a master's. So I just turned around and started working on my master's. About the time I got done with that, every year as a family, because my mom was into craft and my dad liked to make things out of wood, so every year we'd go to the Christmas Gift and Hobby Show here in Indianapolis, which was one of the very first hobby shows in America.
Okay.
And at that show, Shopsmith would be set up there. And my dad's goal was to take an early retirement, build a building out back, put a wood-burning stove in it, and do nothing but create wood and stuff for the rest of his life, which is a pretty cool plan. But he was way too young to do that. But every year, I enjoyed going to that show with my mom and dad simply to watch my dad at the Shopsmith booth. He wasn't an overly emotional guy, but you could tell he wanted to be there, and someday he wanted to buy one of those.
Yeah.
Well, about the time I got done with my master's degree, and I'm going to start to go out and look for a real job again, we're standing there watching that demo, and I tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, look, I'll go in half on it with you." Now, I don't have a job yet. I don't have any income. But he had built a building out back. And so we decided that we would do it. We'd go in together. So we did. Now, back in those days, what we did, there wasn't a Shopsmith store or anything like that, but we drove over to Dayton on a Monday night. Okay. And we picked it up, which was kind of fun to do.
Yeah.
We came back, and on Tuesday night when he got home from work, we put it together, which was kind of cool. And then on Wednesday night, he died. He never made a cut on that machine.
Wow.
And it became a decision I had to make at that point in time. What am I going to do? For sentimental reasons, I just couldn't send it back, even though we'd not made a payment on it yet.
Right, right.
So what I decided to do was, payments on it were, I can't remember, let's say $150. Surely I could do something to make $150 in a month. Not knowing anything about woodworking, but surely I could. So, I could make a doghouse for the neighbor, picture frame for my mom, something for my grandma. By the time I stretched out all my relatives, maybe I would have made enough money to pay for the machine.
Okay, yeah.
But the second I started to work on that machine, that passion started to burn in me. And everything that I had put in my life as a goal went away. All I wanted to do was make.
Wow.
And I had nobody to teach me. It was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of wrong things. I never got hurt in the shop, so I at least had enough respect for the equipment to know what was safe and not safe. But I learned and got a little bit better in time. All I wanted to do was make fine furniture. I didn't want to make cabinets. I didn't want to go into a home and do restoration work or anything like that. I wanted to make fine furniture.
Yeah.
But in Indiana, farmers don't spend $20,000 on dining room table sets. So about the fourth or fifth year into it, I started to make cabinets. Very hesitantly, it's not what I wanted to do, but I needed the money. Because I needed better equipment. With better equipment, I could produce faster. By producing faster, I could take on more work. With more work, I needed to hire people. When I hired people, I needed to take on more work to pay their salary, which meant I needed more equipment. And this cycle kept going around and around and around. And in about 10 years, we became the largest custom shop in Indiana, high-end custom shop in Indiana. And back then, Indiana was the second largest producer of woodwork products in America.
Yeah.
And so from not knowing anything about woodworking, I was learning as I went along the way to do a little bit of everything. The cabinet world spun off for us into architectural millwork. So we ended up with 3 different divisions in my company. And actually back then, we were doing a lot of work with Wood-Mizer. You guys were, at one point in time, you used to sell a lot of trims and moldings.
Tons, yeah. We had a whole wood division.
And we bought a lot of that from you guys back in those days.
Yeah.
And that all took off really, really well. Somewhere in probably the late 80s, early 90s, through one of the professional trade magazines, and I don't remember which one it was, they were putting out a call for somebody to become a technical consultant to the United States of America on the international quality of furniture standards. Mm-hmm. And my name got kicked into that, and it was chosen by the people up in Portland, Oregon, the Western Wood Product Association. They were the head of it, but it also represented the Western Product Association, the Southern Forest Product Association, American Hardwood Export Council, and the United States government. And they chose me. And so I had an opportunity to lecture all over the world on furniture standards. Mm. Then about the time the very first Persian Gulf War broke out, for the first time there was a lot of nations, especially in the Middle East, that were working together with America to solve what they thought were the challenges that were taking place in the Middle East at that time. Yeah. But then right after that war, it was an opportunity for all these nations to, I don't want to say rebuild because that's a tough word today, but to go in and help them find new marketing methods. So a lot of what they did was we put together this big program. There were 17 nations involved, and in those nations, there were everything from the automotive industry to the tech industry to the banking industry to the textile industry, and you could go on, and then, of course, the wood industry.
Okay, yeah.
And so we would go to these different venues all together, and the people that were there that were in each one of these organizations were the people at the top. These were the CEOs and the big-time people. I mean, it's not somebody way down the ladder. I mean, we're talking about the big people.
Yeah.
And so every word that we said was scripted, and it was just like being in the United Nations. So the person would be speaking, and you'd have all of these people around with the headsets on so that it could be interpreted into whatever the language was.
Yeah.
And so the way it worked was in the morning, everybody had a half of an hour, all these different industries, where that person would get up and talk. And we did this in different countries. Okay. And so that person would get up and talk, then the next person would get up and talk, and then the next person. And then finally, woodworking alphabetically happens to be at the end.
Right, yeah.
So, and
maybe not the best place.
And we're in the Middle East too.
Yeah.
And so by the time it would come time for me to do my little spiel, there'd be nobody left in the buildings. There might be a couple people, including a janitor. So it was just kind of one of those things where I was there still, but I wasn't really able to reach many people. Well, what would happen is after the morning session where everybody had a chance to talk, and these were big sessions. I mean, some of the wealthiest people in each of these nations were represented there because they're looking at new businesses that they could acquire for their countries.
Opportunities, yeah.
And then in the afternoon, it turned into a trade show. So at a trade show, you would have like General Motors that would have their booth here, and then you'd have the tech people over here, and then my booth, the woodworking booth, was over here. Now, the booth was put together by, again, our country put it together. But I was the guy who had to answer the questions. Had an interpreter with me the whole time. He was a 18-year-old, 17 when he started, I think 18 when we got done, year-old gentleman from Damyat, Egypt.
Okay.
And in any case, everything we did was 5-star. We're staying in the best hotels, we're lecturing and doing our programs in the biggest venues you've ever seen. It was really high class. The other thing is back in those days, there was only one TV station, and that was Al Jazeera. And so because we were there, I was there when after the first Persian Gulf War, when the oil wells were still on fire. Yeah. That's when I was there for this big meeting.
Wow.
And so as we would go from city to city to city, our convoy, we were in these great big luxury buses. So we all traveled together, all industry traveled together. And then we would have in front of us 2 or 3 trucks, and behind us 2 or 3 trucks, and each truck was filled with guys with machine guns. Mm-hmm. I think that could have been show. I don't know. I'm a little naive as to exactly what it was like in that part of the world. And it was still risky. Yeah. But Al Jazeera followed us everywhere. So we were the only thing on TV the whole time I was there.
Man.
So it drew a lot of attention. And as we went to all these different cities, it was still kind of the same thing. I'm woodworking. I'm the last guy called up to go. Except for in one town, and that town was Damiat, Egypt, which happened to be why my interpreter was from there. They put him specifically with me because in that town there were 600,000 people that lived there at the time, and 400,000 made their living in woodworking.
Wow. Okay.
And
so planned out a little
so
bit.
it was
there.
planned.
Yeah, yeah.
At least it was a good place for us to go at that point in time. But Damiat was also a port. They were just north of Alexandria, and so they were a port city. So there was a lot of economic potential there. So in any case, when we get to that town, as we're going through the town, I know this is hard to explain to people and hard for them to believe. As we're going through the town, there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that line the street. It's like a ticker tape parade, And so this whole convoy of everybody's going through all the streets. Because see, we're the national news, so people have been watching us and hearing about us. And then we came to this place. The time had shifted from a morning session to an afternoon and into a late evening session when we were going to have the convention side of it. And so we're taken into a place that was under a screen, outdoor. It was probably maybe 100 feet one way, but probably 50 feet the other way.
So like a
it was like a tent
yeah.
that had screen around it to keep the bugs from coming in. Yeah. And that's where we were going to eat lunch that day. And as we're eating lunch, it was different than all the five-star hotels we were at. And there were thousands and thousands and thousands of people just on the outside of our screen tent just looking in. It had to be because we were novelty at that point in time.
Yeah. Americans and a lot of interest.
And they gave us a little bit of warning before we went there that this food would be prepared differently, so be aware. And I believe that. And so my interpreter kept saying, eat. And, I go, I'm not hungry. And it all looked like it was in homemade baskets or some kind of plastic container.
Okay, yeah.
But in any case, I didn't eat. Well, when it came time to do this little event where everybody went, and I'm last at woodworking, everybody was still in the venue because they were all there to hear me, which was kind of cool. Wow. And I could see the other guy sitting there going, come on, man, I want to go home. And I'm going, hey, it's my turn today. So in any case, I did my little spill. And the way it worked was I would read a sentence and my interpreter would have to say something. And there were slides that would be shown. The government helped put everything together. I wrote the text, but they edited it. In any case, afterwards, when it came time to do the trade show side of it. I don't want to call it a real trade show because it wasn't a trade show, but it was a technical side where people could ask you questions.
Okay.
So I'm in my booth, and now it's getting late at night. It's probably 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And there is a line behind me, 100 feet deep, people wanting to talk to me tonight and nobody else. And it was really slow because I'd have to go through the interpreter. So they'd ask him a question, he would ask me, I'd answer, then he'd go back to them. Mm-hmm. So it's just a really long thing, and it was very tiring. Well, about halfway through, one of the people that was there it was a gentleman. He had, I believe, either 2 or 3 of his sons, and so they're asking me questions about these people had never seen particle board. They didn't know what white or yellow glue was. Okay?
So I was going to ask you, what are
they? They were. You got to remember, we live in a modern society.
Right,
it's not the way it is throughout the rest of the world. Certainly on materials, and even ways that you cut things. And so we did tour some of the facilities first thing in the morning. But in any case, they're asking me questions, and I'm trying to answer them as best as I can. And then they said something about, at the end of this tour, would you mind coming and staying with us and help us? And you got to remember, this is a very competitive community. 400,000 other people are doing the same thing they do.
Pick one, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'd already been gone for a long time. My business was up and running then, and I hated being away already from there.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to figure.
How long was the trip?
The trip was under 3 weeks.
Still though,
it was a long trip.
Okay,
a lot of cities. Yeah. And so as I'm trying to find a way out, and they're asking me all these questions, and they kept asking me to stay. Can you stay? Can you stay? And I said, no, I got a business I got to get back to. I'm coming up with everything I can. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to be rude. I would have loved to have, but I just was ready to come home. But then it hit me. My wife and I had been married for 10 years before we had our first child. My daughter was only 1 month old when I was there.
Whoa.
And it hit me. I go, oh, I've got a baby daughter. And I told my interpreter, I said, I can't wait to get home. Sorry, I can't. I've got a baby daughter. She's 1 month old. I can't wait. I've been away from her now for half of her life, and I need to go home to see her because that's got to take them, right? So my interpreter talks to them. They come back through my interpreter, and he comes to me and goes, okay, here's what they're willing to do. They'd like to give you their youngest daughter. And you know, that's what you do is you laugh. And this 18-year-old kid looked me in the eye and said, you know, I don't know how things are in America,
I'm sure
but this is how we do it here.
Yeah.
This would be good for his family. This would be good for his daughter.
Whoa.
And you've just insulted this man by laughing at him.
Yeah.
You know, and here I am, I still have, you know, 40 or 50 people in line. It's late at night.
But you're not laughing at him. You're laughing at just...
It was a concept, but it didn't matter.
Oh, yeah, right.
And so here I am in line trying to keep my wits about me without breaking down about what had just happened.
Yeah, that's intense.
And so then as that night went on, when everything was done, we walked out to our bus. And as we're getting ready to get on the bus, my interpreter pulled me to the side. And I could see, we were at the top of the Nile, and I could see stations all around, and all you could see was guys in those stations with machine guns. Not like here, okay? It's a different world.
Yeah, yeah.
And he took me to the side and he said, hey, you need to know some things. Today, when we offered you food, you didn't eat. He goes, you remember all the people that were watching? I go, yeah. He goes, they were hungry. He goes, the people who prepared your food were the women of our community who borrowed money and will not eat today and will not eat tomorrow because they provided food for you and you didn't need it. This is an 18-year-old kid lecturing me.
Wow, yeah.
And then the last thing he said was, he said to me as we got ready to get on the bus, he said, and my goal in life has always been, and what I want to do more than anything is go to Disney World, and I'll never be able to go. And I got on the bus and I cried, literally cried the entire rest of the way back to the hotel room because I had never experienced anything like that. That was all emotion and it was all true. I never in my life had to worry about food. I never had to worry about shelter. I could always go wherever I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Everything, my education was right across the walkway from my house. You know, everything was always easy for me here. And it made you realize it's just not the way it is.
Yeah.
And on that bus that night, that's when I decided with my business, I could keep every year adding another decimal point to the gross sales. But I'd still be as tired at the end of the day each day. And what have I done? And so following true to your craft, or better yet, to your callings, there was a different door that was open to me that night. And that was to go home, sell the business, and start a school where people could come and learn how to make things.
Yeah.
They could come and get away from what it is that they do. So not everybody who comes to our school is a professional woodworker. Matter of fact, very few are. Most of them are hobbyists. Our average age is probably 55 to 65. Most of them have very high stressful jobs. And it's a place for them to go and to get away from what they do day to day and be at a place where they are doing something with like-minded people that they really enjoy doing.
Right.
And so that's the path that I took. And I called my wife that night. I have no clue what time it was back in America. But I called her and I said, hey, when I come home, I got a new plan. We're gonna sell the business and I'm gonna start a school. And it's just like on her. And it's like, what? But she always had good faith in me. You know, they say that when you're young and you're trying to make these decisions, like my decision was, do I go to this university? Do I go into this field? What do I do? They consider those to be the most important choices in your life, and I totally disagree with that. The most important choice you make in your life is who you marry. Because you have to marry somebody that's going to follow you and do what it is that you want to do, especially when you're a dreamer like I was. And when I called her and told her what we were going to do, it wasn't like, oh man, you got to be kidding me. Look at all we've got invested and how hard we work for this. It was like, how soon do we start?
Absolutely.
And that's where we started. And that's the genesis of the school and where it came about. A lot of people don't know that.
And that's
I don't talk about that a lot, but it was
amazing.
It was an incredibly moving experience in my life. And then from there, it just seemed like things just started to happen. And
well, you know, and
incredible opportunities.
I mentioned this earlier. In your 25th anniversary catalog, you have a quote in the front page. It's attributed to Mark Twain. I know there's debate about where the quote comes from, but there's the most important days in your life is when you're born and when you find out why. And you really found out why.
What your purpose is. Yeah,
what your purpose is. I mean, that's what an amazing story and events like that in life, just the way they kind of turn your life upside down. I mean, it's just, and you're so convicted that you have to go make a change and because you had this in you to be a positive influence from that day on.
But there were a lot of things to consider because I had a lot of employees and you don't want to, their lives are important too. Their families are important too.
Yeah.
But, you know, by the time I came back and I talked about where I always had a good rapport with my employees. But when I came back and told them what I wanted to do, it was, hey, man, we're on board. And some of them actually came to work for me when the school got up and running, and when I was able to have employees.
So what was the time frame there, being able to, you sold the business?
So, yeah, and that was in 1990, I believe, but it took me a year and a half, maybe 2 years to get the building ready, because what we had commercial equipment. And so you can't do a craft school where you're going to teach people how to build a blanket chest with an edge bander or a 52-inch wide belt sander.
Right.
So, and the building needed to be remodeled so it functioned better as a school as to a manufacturing facility.
Okay.
And so I had 2 guys that helped me. We gutted the building, and we rebuilt it. We got all brand new equipment, and I knew where I wanted to put it for what it was, put a classroom in, and that's kind of how it started. Now today, we have about 40 some odd thousand square feet of space. Okay. And there's 6 or 7 different buildings now that we work out of. And so it's just really, really, it's just an incredible place. And it's because God put a door in my life that I never saw coming, in a world I never imagined I would be in.
He had to send you to Egypt.
Yeah, smack me around a little bit here, and then send me there. Yeah, so that was how it all started.
Unbelievable, and I think the kind of the heritage from your dad is just that's huge as well. I know, my dad, my grandpa were huge. I wouldn't say anybody in my family are woodworkers, but we all worked with wood. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like nothing fancy about it. We're building chicken coops, and we're building, we're building additions onto barns and lean-tos. But just being able to work with wood and the craftsmanship that goes into it, like everything I know is because of what they poured into me and the heart they gave me for it.
Well, I believe that too. Even though my dad didn't teach me woodworking, he taught me to be a hard worker. And through that, and through sports, because I was very active in both high school and college, it taught me not to give up. So those 2 things were important. And so as the school continued to grow, like I said, I started in woodworking because that's what I did, but that was never my choice. I wanted to diversify. But the other thing I chose back then, which people can look at however they want, is I made a very important decision to never, ever take anything for free. So I'm not like one of these guys that's looking at all the people to throw gifts at them and all that. Every piece of sandpaper, every table saw, every blade, everything we have, I paid for. Yeah. And the reason I did that, I could live in a lot nicer house today. I could have a lot nicer landscaping around that house, but that's not where I wanted to go. I believe education has to be pure. And when people come to my program, I don't want them to come to an infomercial. And we don't sell products. I don't manufacture anything. We exist 100%. 100% by tuition.
And I'm sure you've had opportunities.
Oh yeah. Believe me, I've had a lot of them. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean that I wouldn't come to Wood-Mizer and say, "Hey, can you guys make me a deal on this?"
Yeah, right.
But it's very important that people know that when they come there, it's all pure and it's honest and it's true. And I think that has a lot to do with it, and it has to go with, to me, my whole philosophy about the school and where we are today is it's what can I do with the skills that I have to make a difference in somebody else's life today. Yeah. And so that's kind of the focus. And with all the people that come and teach for me, I vet them pretty well. And if somebody's first question when I ask them to come and teach for me is, how much do I get paid? Our conversation's done. Yeah. Because I want people that are there to perpetuate the craft, that love it, they're passionate about it, people that had somebody help them along the way, and now are ready to take what they've learned and pass it on to somebody else. And the great thing about craft is there's a lot of people that are very, very giving. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of them that are pretty arrogant, and a lot of them are very difficult to deal with. And I've even had to talk to agents before to get certain people here.
Oh, sure.
And usually,
in the world we live today, the influencer world,
they're all wanting everything they can get, and that's just not who we are.
Yeah, right.
And that's not who we are now, and that's not who we'll be in the future.
Right. So kind of going back to that, you have a lot of you have a pretty decent sized staff and they're there all the time.
Yeah, we work year round. Yeah. The school actually only goes from April until November, simply because we're in rural Indiana, and in the middle of the winter, if the weather's bad, they might not be able to get to Indiana. Well, let me give you a stat before I go there. So this year, we're going to have just under 2,500 people that are going to come from all over the world. Okay. But if you were to equate that into hotel room nights, that's going to be about 17,000 hotel room nights in
this year.
our area just this year, just this summer alone.
That's a better way to think
Yeah.
of it. I mean,
so
that's huge,
so when you think of it in that context, what that means is people are going to travel to get here.
That's right.
And so in the middle of the winter, I can't risk, when you're tuition driven, to have people who can't come.
Yeah.
And so for us, unfortunately, our season is pretty short. But we do as much as we can. Now with my staff,
so you pack a lot into that.
well,
season.
we do 7 workshops all at the same time because of our facility. But my staff, because we have so much equipment and there's so much going on, we're always remaking, remodeling, fixing. There's always maintenance on equipment, and so it's literally a full-time job for us. Yeah. Plus, when we start our registration, we always allow our alumni the opportunity to first sign up, so they get a special date before we go public.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I get inundated on those first days. I mean, this last year, we started at 8 o'clock Eastern time. People, all they had to do was send me an email. No cash. It's not about cash in business that day. I just want to get you in your classes. Yeah. And by 8:02, we already had about 1,800 people sign up. And so it takes a long time to process all of that. Yeah. So those people are traveling to get there, and we do what we can to accommodate them. But to prepare to have that many people there takes a lot of work in the off season.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're year round.
And there's a video on your YouTube channel where your staff is kind of going through talking about their experiences there, and one thing that really stuck out to me is, I mean, they talk about the camaraderie, the kind of the family atmosphere, just how everybody gets on. They're very complimentary of you and how you run things. And talk a little bit about how you facilitate. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, that short of a period of time, the amount of classes you do, the amount of instructors you fly in, the amount of people you fly into the classes, I'm sure it can sometimes be a high stress situation.
It is.
But it seems like
it's good stress, but
right, because it's very productive. It's great investment. Well, how do you facilitate?
Well, here's the thing
with your staff.
My passion still is making things with wood. Period.
Yeah.
I would live to do that. Problem is I can't, because I can't use my own equipment because it's being used. So I don't get to make as much stuff as I want. Here's something that's even sadder for me. Is to date, we've offered now, from the beginning to now, somewhere just under 4,500 workshops.
Wow.
From the beginning to now. And I've never been able to take one. And I would give anything to take classes. I would love to go sit in on a class and learn. I'd love to be a student. The problem is, and I've tried it, at 9:15, we started at 8. Hey, Mark, the toilet over in the sunroom is plugged up. Okay, well, I can't stop my guys because they're assisting things. I got to go do it. And the next thing you know, hey, we make lunch. We have our own cafeteria, and we prepare a hot lunch for everybody every day. They even get a menu. Next thing you know, hey, it's about lunchtime, and we're out of Coke. So I got to run and get it. So there's a lot of things that happen. I can't tell you how many people I had it happen even today. Before I came up here, will come to me and tell me what this means to them, and they're crying, adult men crying, because their life is hectic and stressful. And yet at the same time, mine is too, but it's in a different way. Yeah. And so for me, dealing with all of the instructors, which is almost always a good thing, dealing with the volume of students that go through there, which is a good thing, and our staff, which is a good thing, but they consume a lot of energy. And the day's long, and plus the shop's only 20 steps from my house. So there's somebody on your property every single day. The shop's open 24 hours.
You can't get away from work.
It's impossible.
You live there. Yeah.
So the thing that's the most relaxing for me is because I can't do woodworking during that time, is to mow my grass. Oh. And so I get on my lawnmower, and I'm able to get away from all of that for the hour and a half or 2 hours it takes, and that's kind of how I regenerate myself.
And most people won't bother a man on a lawnmower. They'll leave them alone for a minute.
It's amazing how many people come to the program and they look around and they think, God, look at all these people here. And he charges this much for you. And they think that like I'm the biggest millionaire that ever lived, right? They have no clue how expensive it is to do what we do. No clue at all. And so it's one of those things where the goal is not to enrich ourselves, but to enrich others. And so for me, it's everything that we make goes right back into that school, and that again is another part of the stress, is just making sure you have the money to do that with.
Yeah. So how do you lead in that scenario? Because it seems like you lead your people very well. Again, very complimentary. How do you approach leading your
first
staff
of all,
in that way?
I have the best people on earth that work for me, period. One of them, Doug, people who've been to school know Doug. Doug has worked for me. He completed his master's at the school, and he came to work for me about the time the towers were hit.
Okay.
So is that long ago?
Yeah, that's quite a while there.
And at that time, and now, he lives in Cincinnati. He drives 100 miles one way every day to be there.
Every day?
Every day. 100 miles one way there, 100 miles one way home. So by the time most people get up and they're starting breakfast, he's already been on the road for an hour.
Yeah.
By the time people go home and have dinner, he's still got another hour to go to get home.
That's amazing.
And but those are the kind of people that work for me. And I don't micromanage anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these people know what they're doing. They don't need me to tell them how to do what they already know what to do.
Yeah.
And so I think what really helps a lot is to have people that you have faith in and trust in, and they have faith and trust in you, that you won't get on them. I've never yelled at anybody, but get on them if they need to do something differently or to change.
Yeah.
So the people who work there are incredible, and that's what the heart and soul is of our. They're the true treasure of the school.
So tell me a little bit. You said you don't really get to do the classes. If there was one class that you just put everything away and sit in on this year that you've done or are going to do, what class would that be?
I don't know. That'd be tough because I'm the one who puts together the schedule, so I choose them all.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people I would really love to have taken classes from.
Yeah, the instructor matters.
And some of those people have passed away. A handful of them have passed away. Matter of fact, on our schedule this year, we had 3 instructors. 2 of them were on the schedule this year that had passed, and one of them was a previous instructor.
Wow.
He was the first one to get his 10-year award with me. So it's really hard to say. I would love to take a class with Michael Cooper. And then there's guys like Scott Grove and Steve Latta and Mike Pekovic. And you could just keep going down the ladder. And I would love to sit in on any of those guys' classes.
Yeah.
So, but maybe someday.
Yeah,
someday.
yeah, absolutely. That thought that was just
I know,
kind of neat. You know?
It's really hard. There's so many good classes. Actually, to be honest with you, and some of the classes I'd really like to take don't have anything to do at all with woodworking.
Yeah. Some of the knife making classes, that's really
the guy who runs
me.
my blacksmithing department's the guy who won the very first season of Forged in Fire.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And so you know, it'd just be fun to spend time with those guys. You know, we do classes every year on the science of chocolate. You know, we've got a full glass studio that does everything from glass blowing to fusion to flame work to neon sign work to leaded glass. I'd love to do any of that, but I, you know, when I get into the time when they're doing the glass blowing, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time there because it's pretty hot. So, but it's on and on and on. We even do classes in quilting, and I wouldn't mind taking a quilting class just to learn how to do it.
My mother-in-law is like, I don't know how many quilts she makes a year. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Her whole basement is dedicated to this massive machine for quilting.
And she already knows how to quilt. But the great thing about quilters is if their husband's going someplace to do something, they can tag along. If it happens to be a quilt class, they don't care. It's not like...
And they're never done.
They can know everything they need to know about quilting, but they'll still want to be there because they can socialize with everybody else.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the fun thing, and we do hope that we are becoming a vacation destination. So.
Yeah, I noticed on your website right now, it very much is geared toward being like a somewhere to go and get away.
Yeah.
You know, and which I think is a little bit different than some of the other places where you can go take classes, where it's like you're gonna go take a class, you walk in, take a class, you're kind of done. But you guys offer. I mean, your week-long packages it's not just the class. I mean, your classes are like 10, 12-hour days.
Yeah, they're long days.
But then there's things at night that you guys offer, and you get to hang out with the instructors. Like it's immersive, I would say, which is why it's more of a vacation type approach. Yeah.
And the good thing about being in rural Indiana is there's not a whole lot of other things to do.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So that kind of causes them to have to do that. But, you know, we do have, there's a lot of things that people can do. And there's a lot of restaurants, so a lot of people in classes go out for dinner together. And the next thing you know, next year, they're in the same classes again. And so it's kind of fun to watch those friendships develop.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting more on the actual woodworking side of things, you're well known for a lot of your techniques. You've got some videos. I mean, you were doing videos on VHS.
I was probably the first guy to do video. One of the very first guys to do videos.
Yeah. And you can find some of those out there. They're not all out there. But
I had hair
some.
back in those days.
And of course, well known for veneer, which we're in kind of the veneer capital of the world here in Indiana. Mm-hmm. So high availability there. Tell me a little bit about the woodworking side. In terms of, you already know a lot of these guys who are in that industry. I mean, glass blowing, you probably have to do some research and vet, but a lot of the woodworking guys you probably already know. Tell me about what your process is in determining what you want to offer, like what technique or what instructor, like how do you approach what the class is going to be in terms of the woodworking side?
Well, again, I am pretty fortunate to know most everybody that are the people that are really the known people.
Yeah.
And have met them and have worked with them before. So that kind of helps a little bit. I do a lot of research every year. I try to think of new and exciting things. What's the next thing that's going on in woodworking? Back in years ago, what I used to do was I had a pretty good in with most of the book publishers. And so they've got to plan ahead on what books are going to be popular a year or two from then. And so for me, I'm a year out too, so I would talk to them and say, hey, what books are you guys getting ready to write? And so we worked back and forth on what we thought might be the next big thing, and then I'd focus on that. And everything kind of is on a bell curve. So for example, right now, wood turning classes are actually down. So it wouldn't matter where you're teaching in America. It's there's just wood turning is just kind of down. There's not as many people taking turning classes for whatever the reason might be.
But it wasn't probably 5 years ago.
No, and in 5 years it won't be again. They'll be up where you can't get into a class. Right now, classes that are pretty hot for us are carving. And the one that's probably the hottest of all is box making. So people like to come and make keepsake boxes or memento boxes or even some kind of an urn type of a box.
Interesting,
And so, I do a lot of research. I kind of see where we're headed. Mm-hmm. I look at the projects that people tell me that they're working on. And so that gives me a little bit of a clue as to where the world is headed. Okay. And then I always ask for instructors, hey, do you know of anybody that's coming up? And then I ask students if there's a class that they'd like to see. Yeah. I'm just not capable of putting together 270 workshops totally by myself. I need people to give me some direction. And when they give me direction, that's when I spend time and I'll think about it. Pray about it, and then I'll go through and I'll figure out exactly what and who. And I'll start to talk to people when they say, yeah, I learned from. Okay, that's all the further that conversation is going to go. And then I go to who I learned from, and then I keep working my way up until I find the person that I think is the person that's going to be best suited for our program.
Gotcha. And do you ever have instructors reach out to you, say, hey, Mark, I've got this great idea? And
I have people almost every day who want to teach for us or give us good ideas. And sometimes instructors give me a lot of good ideas, and sometimes they don't know people either. It's funny because I know we have this world today where there's a lot of YouTube stuff, and you can see just about any and everything that goes on. Yeah. But the vast majority of people who teach for me don't live in that world at all.
That's what I'm noticing.
And so they don't come from there. They've done it. That doesn't mean that the people who are in that world didn't learn from them, but that's just they just don't do that. I don't know why that is, because they could reach more people, but I think that it's time. People who are really, really, really good at making things, they're too busy making things.
That's right.
To be setting up a camera, and so. So for them, they're not there. So when I ask them, hey, do you guys know anybody that's new in the world? Well, they kind of don't. so that puts me to doing more research. But that's part of the fun of doing the whole thing.
So talk to me a little bit about, you've got the classes scheduled. Obviously, you guys go through a lot of material throughout the year. Mostly hardwood or almost all hardwood on the woodworking side?
For 99% of what we do, it is hardwoods. All different species, all different types, some exotics, a ton of veneer. We go through a ton of veneer. And we do go through framing material because we do post-beam construction classes too. Okay, yeah. We do a lot of construction type classes, stairway building classes, and sometimes those require materials other than hardwoods. Probably though, if you were to break it down in terms of wood versus composite materials, It's probably 80% solid wood and 20% composite material.
You considering the veneer solid as
Yeah.
well? Okay.
Well, veneer is solid.
Well, it is solid.
It's just
yeah.
thin.
Right. We got to put it on something, and typically
It can't stand on its own.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And then most of your veneer is it Indiana veneer, or obviously some of the stuff
I
we
buy
don't
it in
have.
Indiana.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
I don't know that it was all cut in Indiana.
Okay.
And one of the things that helps us is a lot of these big veneer plants that are doing panels. They're making an 8-foot panel. They had to buy 10-foot long veneer. They cut it off. They got 2 foot that they don't know what to do with. And so we're able to go in and purchase some of that from those guys.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is really nice. And that means we get a really nice variety of species. But we still have to buy a lot of veneer.
Yeah.
And I get most of that from Edinburgh, Indiana, from a company called Danzer.
Yeah.
And we get most of our hardwood from a company called Macbeth. Macbeth has their concentration yard. They're not a sawyer, but their concentration yard is in Edinburgh, and they load it up on railroad cars and ship it out from there.
Gotcha.
But it's convenient because they're both close to me. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're better or bigger or anything. It's just that they're close. And I've worked with these guys for 45 years, so they always help me with pricing.
Well, it's nice to have a place you can go to. Especially for you guys.
And it's good because they'll even deliver to me. Now, and we've got the Frank Millers, and we've got there's a lot of places here, and they all work really, really, really well with us. I'm telling you, it's just incredible what these guys do to help us make things meet.
How many of your students want to bring their own material? Do you get that much?
Yeah, well, a lot of times we have material fees or materials that they need to bring.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say probably in maybe a third of our classes, they have the opportunity to bring their own wood.
Oh, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Okay.
I'm not in a business to really sell wood.
Sure.
We have some. If somebody needs a piece of cherry, we've got a piece of cherry. But they don't come to me and buy wood.
Yeah.
A lot of times if we only have a 5-day workshop, I don't want them to spend a lot of time sending it through the planer, catching it, wasting that time when they could be doing other things.
Right.
So we do prefer that they bring milled material if it's a workshop where they are allowed to bring their own.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of wood, one of the things that we have, I think in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, is Siri Robinson, who has written several books on spalting. And she's the leading authority in the world. She teaches at Oregon State.
Okay.
And runs an incredible program out there as from the wood science standpoint of things. And she's one who we used to tell people, we don't want you to bring spalted wood here because, somebody could. She's the one who debunked all of that.
Oh, okay.
And so it's fun. She comes and we set up the workshop as a laboratory, and we go out and get samples off of the trees in our woods of funguses. They come in and evaluate them. They can then take those funguses and they can inject them into wood and cause the wood to be spalt red or
on
blue
the spot
within a matter of a day or so.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah.
It's all done by science, and that color will never ever fade out. Never.
Really?
In history, no. It'll be there for as long until the wood petrifies.
And she's got.
And she's brilliant, and she's the only one in this country that's the leading expert. It used to be Dr. Bruce Hoadley on the wood side of things, but when he passed away, by the way, he used to teach for me. But when he passed away, Siri kind of took the helm, and she's just incredible. Brilliant.
I thought I saw an article where she's raising her own money for her own research.
As a matter of fact,
that's to buy petri dishes.
That's one of the blessings that we have at the school. Was the first year she taught for me. I'm getting ready to pay her for being there, and she said, "Oh no, you don't make the check out to me. You make it out to our research group." And I go,
Wow.
"Why would I do that?" She goes, "Because I have to fund my own research." And I said, no, that'll never happen again. And so over the years, she's one of our charity events this year, but over the years, we've helped her program raise about $75,000 to $80,000. So they've been able to do a lot with that, and her program has really grown because of that.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And your involvement in things like that. I mean, you guys get involved in all kinds of, sometimes charities, but one really interesting thing that I saw was the Independence Hall event that you guys did this year. You got another one coming up this year, or 2 more this year?
I try to do anywhere from 3 to 4 charity events a year.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason we can do that, first of all, because I'm not a nonprofit. If you're a nonprofit program, then you're always begging for money for you.
Well, yeah.
You're not going to give money to somebody else. But when you are a base as a for-profit, which by the way doesn't mean you make a profit, okay? I don't mean to sugarcoat that from anybody, but it's the truth.
Sure.
But when you earn your money, you have a lot more respect for it. And then when you can do things, it means a lot more to those who you can do it for.
Yeah.
because they know it wasn't just a big tax write-off for somebody. That's not what we're after.
Yeah.
And so we have the most generous students in the world, and these people will do anything you ask. So when you mentioned this, we had a situation last year where in Indianapolis, there was a group that came here of kids they took over our state house for a week, and they rehearsed and practiced what it's like to bring a bill before House or the Senate or whatever it might be. And then our senators can interact with them, and it's a really great thing for kids to learn civics. And these are kids that are pretty smart, and they're going to be pretty successful in life. So they're 16, to like 22 or something like that in age. Yeah. And Indiana was one of the places that they came last year. Had this big convention, and the director of that convention from Texas wanted to see our school because they run theirs is a school too. And they wanted to come and see what we did. And next thing we know, they invited us up to the State House. We went up to the State House and saw the event as it was taking place. And they had mentioned it for our 250th anniversary. They were going to completely rebuild Independence Hall at their campus. And Independence Hall had the assembly room, which is where everything was done. That's where the drafts took place. That's where the Declaration of Independence was signed. That's where the Bill of Rights took place. Yeah. It's the most famous room in America, and they're going to rebuild it. And I thought to myself, what the heck?
Like a complete replica of the whole thing. Complete, yeah.
And so, I thought, well, we have everything here. We can do it here. And I can get the volunteers. And so it took place in May, and we had 120 people from probably 30 or 40 different states who came, and we did everything. We did all of the moldings and the crown curved pediments, all the carving for the pediments, all of the desks, all of the Windsor chairs, the president's chair, which is the only thing, by the way, right now in Independence Hall that's the original piece. Everything else,
the president's chair.
If you go to the assembly room in Independence Hall right now, everything you see is not what it was originally.
Oh, okay.
But we made everything to look like it does now. Now, not only on top of making all this stuff, and it took semis to take it out of our building in 1 week, we raised $90,000 for charities that week too.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that's the kind of people that come to our program. They're the people who will come and work, and they're the people who will come and help support and take care of whatever. So that's just one of the things we did earlier this year.
Okay, yeah, and you have a couple more of those.
We did one last weekend for a group called SMO, Semi Outdoors. We've done something for them for the last 3 years, and these are special ops guys. After 20 years, they get out and they're trying to readjust.
Okay,
and it's really, really, really difficult for them. These are the guys who did the things that you don't talk about. They were specially trained, highly trained, and when they get away from that world, it's really, really tough for them. And at night when the lights go out, they struggle. And so for us, we wanted to do something to help them. And this organization came up called Semi Outdoors, which is where they get together as groups from all over the country, and they're together, so they can talk about what's working on them, what's bothering them, because they can't do that with their wife or with their family. And so we wanted to try to support them. And when I first offered to help them, I remember calling him, the gentleman who was the founder of it. And we're talking on the phone, and I said, well, I think that next year, off the top of my head, I think we might be able to raise $18,000 to $20,000 for you guys. And he goes, are you kidding me? We only have $700 in our account.
Oh, wow.
And that year we raised $35,000. Last year we raised $50,000 for them. And the weekend workshop we just did a one-day class last Saturday, and it raised $9,000.
That's unbelievable.
But that's what I say. That the God has put me in a position to do what I do. Not for me, but for others. Yeah. And the people who come here are the people who are the exact same way. They're going to do things for others too. Yeah. And so it's just an incredibly unique situation, and I just get to see it every day. So
that's so awesome.
So anyway, the charity things are big for us. And the final one we're going to do this year, we mentioned a guy from Forged and Fire, Matthew Parkinson. He has autoimmune system deficiencies. So did his mother.
Oh wow.
And so we're getting together for a weekend. And all that money will go to that association, and that the students are going to work on a special knife. They're making two. They get to take one home, and then the other one, Matthew will direct, and he will make, and he will stamp, and then we're going to auction that one off. So you get a knife. Somebody will be able to buy a knife made from the guy who won. started the whole Forged and Fire.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So wouldn't that be pretty cool?
That is awesome. So you guys will publicize when the auction is and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
A lot of that has to do with Matthew because what'll happen is in a 2-day workshop, we'll get a lot done, but it won't be completely finished. There'll still be a lot of work to do on a handle. There'll be inlay work that has to be done. And so he'll go back home with it, and then he'll finish that. And then he'll let me know when it's ready to be put up. So it probably won't be in 2025. It'll probably be somewhere in 2026 on our webpage.
Okay, gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah.
So of course, on the Wood-Mizer side, we're always interested on kind of our tagline, force to final form, right?
Absolutely,
You guys are
right.
on the final form side of things.
Yep.
Do you ever get the opportunity to create your own lumber? And you had a sawmill at one time, and
Because of Mike.
Mike Hanlon. Yep.
And we had that, and we were, that was back when we were doing a thing with you, where our goal, there were 3 of us that worked on it together. It was Wood-Mizer. There was the narrow gate out of Tennessee.
That's right.
And then me. And the idea was that you guys have been unbelievably generous. I mean, if I've learned anything about generosity, it all comes from you. I mean, you guys at that point in time had given away something like 500 mills.
Over 500 sawmills.
To people in countries to help them better themselves.
Right.
The problem that your founders found was that they could cut wood all day long, but they didn't know what to do with it.
That's right.
And so the idea was, we worked on this for over a year, was that we were working on finding 3 different countries. And you guys were the ones that chose the 3 countries. I can't remember who it was at this point in time. But they were countries that had the material but didn't know what to do with it.
Didn't really have the market.
And these are like low-end third world countries.
That's
okay?
right.
And
where there's no industry.
No,
we would put
none,
a sawmill into tribes to try to help save the tribe, put industry so that they could make a better living for themselves.
Absolutely.
And their surrounding community.
And then what we did was we vetted those people in that community who we thought would be able to come over here, get trained, and instead of us sending missionary work over to train them, and then the missionary work leaves after a week and you come home, train them here so that they could go back and then they could build, the original intent was for infrastructure. So they could build a desk for schools. They could build things for office buildings, not necessarily to sell. That would come down the line, but this is just to get them started for their own infrastructure stuff that they needed to build. And so we vetted these people really well. And I can't remember, there's like 6 of them were going to go first year. What would happen is Wood-Mizer was in charge of making sure that they had the mill. They were involved with helping to choose the people that would come, because you guys had already had mills there and you'd already talked to people. Then together, because I do visas too, we worked on the visas to be able to get people to come over. And then they would come and spend 7 days with me. And we had a line of furniture that we designed based off of cut right from the mills. And the mills that we had one.
Because they don't have tools and they can't hone it.
And we were going to show them how to do everything.
Yeah.
And so we didn't spend time showing them how to saw. We had the saws here. If they had questions about them, they could. But we then took wood that was already sawn. And we showed them how to take that and how to make chairs for kids to sit in at school, for a classroom, and how to make tables. And we taught them how to do certain types of joinery work and things that gave them skill. So that was my phase. And then the phase from there was they would go down to Narrow Gate. Narrow Gate is a faith-based organization where they work with men 18 to 25 to help find purpose in their lives. It's not a place for juveniles to go to. It's just a place where if somebody wants to take a year off before they go to college, they go there. But it's faith-driven. And so they would go down there, and they were going to spend X number of days down there working on developing faith so that they could do missionary work at the same time. And then down there, they had a mill where they had to cut the wood, and then they had to make something based off of what they learned from us. And then they'd go home. And so we worked on that for a whole year. We got together all the time. We had everything planned out, and it was so great. And you know what? The week before the class was supposed to start, everybody was denied access into our country because they thought that they would flee. And so we were really frustrated, but we went ahead. We still did the workshop because we had all these volunteers coming to help make things.
Yeah, that's right.
And to work with them. So we went ahead and made everything. We created it up. And I think you guys then took the lead and maybe shipped that stuff out. Because there was a whole lot of everything. Now we took photos and had step-by-steps, because once we knew that they were going to come, we needed to train them visually. And then we decided, let's try it again a second year. So, okay, we learned from the first year what we needed to do differently for the visa. It was a visa issue.
It's all, yeah.
And so we geared at that. We found a new people, and that year we got one person across.
Right.
And so obviously it became too big of a challenge for us to try to do it.
Yeah, it made it very difficult. But at the same time, we were able to still make an impact there.
Yeah, but I've always treasured the fact that I live in central Indiana, where Wood-Mizer is from too, and where Festool's now national headquarters is.
Yeah, that's right.
And where Danzer Veneer is, which is one of the largest veneer mills in the world.
Right.
And so it's all right here. And so I've always treasured the fact with that. But I've always had a heart for you guys, because when I started, you guys were just starting at the same time. And I was able to watch everything grow.
Yeah.
And it's just been kind of fun to grow up together in this industry. And you guys have always had that really, really generous heart. And I think that played a lot to do with me in understanding why I need to try to do the same outreach too. And that was why it was so great when we all hooked up.
Right, because I mean, common goals to better people's lives, to pour into people, and I mean, honestly, like I don't think a lot of people know how giving Wood-Mizer is.
I don't think that they do either.
Not the goal, you know. But
it doesn't matter.
Right, it doesn't. We want to make sure we are impacting lives,
and you guys do, and I think that's great. And that's why the Final Form became our theme at that point in time for those workshops.
Yeah, that's right.
And I know it's still your theme. You know, I mean, that's what you guys want to
100%.
do. I think that's a great mission statement, and it's great to follow through. But I'm the Final Form, and you guys are the forest. So.
That's right. And I think, you know, it all revolves around just, in my opinion, the greatest resource we have available, which are trees and timber in general.
Renewable resource.
Right. And there's so much going on just around the U.S. in general right now around forest and timber management. And I think every day I'm having a conversation or reading an article about who's trying to do what in terms of whether it's urban forestry or it's more traditional stuff. I mean, it seems like it's exploding everywhere right now.
The year I started the school, I got hooked up with the state of Indiana to do what they called an LTA, a long-term agreement. And it was supposed to be over 5 years. I was supposed to do 3 acts of conservation. I chose to plant trees.
Yeah.
So we planted trees every year on my property for 3 years. And so there is more, and I don't have a lot of property, but there are a lot of organizations like that, not just in Indiana, but all states.
That's right.
That are trying to do what they can to replenish or to replant trees. And I'm now mine. I don't really have any interest in timbering them right now because they're still not that big.
Right.
But maybe someday we will. But.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't take a whole lot. You know, we lost a maple tree last weekend to some straight line winds. Actually, it fell the next day, fell right in front of my truck. And my wife comes out, you know, there's a tree laying in front of your truck. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, we're sawing that up right now, and honestly, it's the best tree that we've had on our property so far. It's just gorgeous wood coming out of it. But you know, my boys and I, we get to do that together annually we get to cut stuff up, and it's always amazing to watch. I mean, their faces when we cut it open.
You see what's inside.
Oh man!
But see, you're still missing the point. That's the force side. You got to go to the final form side now and do something with that. That needs to become a chest of drawers for your boys.
That's right.
A bed for them so that they have something to remember that tree in the front yard. So,
and with this one, that's what we're talking about. The rest of it, everything else we've cut this year was it was a little rough, you know, standing dead ash and but
we still need firewood.
That's right. So this is good. This is going to be great lumber. We're going to definitely turn it into something. We don't know yet, you know, but we didn't want to waste it, which is great. You know, that's to have that opportunity to do that.
I'm glad that you did that.
Yeah. So maybe last big question. I've got some little quick questions for you, but what's next for MASW? What's on the horizon? What do you see the next 10 years? What does that look like?
Well, I'd like to keep growing. I'd like to keep building more buildings.
Okay.
And I'm in the country, so it's a little bit easier to do. But the property has to become available. So my first long-term goal is in hopes that we have about, where we are right now, we have about 20 acres. Okay. And so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I would like to there's a little piece of property next to us, cornfields right now. And I'd like to acquire that. It's in a trust. So my goal and my prayer someday is we can get that.
Okay.
I would love to have on my property a dormitory, a lodge. We went down that road once in 2008. We did everything. We had the architecturals, had all the permits, everything, 100%. We were ready to dig ground and get started. But in 2008, the world kind of shifted. It was kind of a big recession. It kind of hit at that point in time.
That's right, pretty big.
And so I decided I'd wait a year, and a year turned into 2 years and 3.
That was the year we stopped offering wood products.
Oh, was it really?
Well,
and that was probably why, or a part of it. But in any case, so I put it all on hold. But now I would like to have more ground to be able to put a place where people could stay. Because the community for us is they go out to eat it, and then they go back to a hotel room. Yeah. Well, I'd like for them to be able to come back and continue to do things here. Now, they're tired, and a lot of them are going to want to go to bed, but it's just nice if you could sit downstairs in the lobby and just talk about other things. So that would be a long-term plan for me. It'd be a very soon-term plan if the property ever became available. So that's kind of one thing. I want to continue to grow craft. I would really like to get into, right now, our blacksmithing. We do blacksmithing and welding. Okay. And I'd like to get more into growing those bigger. Our glass department is already doing very well, and we have our own glass facility. I wouldn't mind getting into doing some more culinary work. We do it already. Okay. Every year we do a couple different classes in the science of chocolate. And so I'd like to do more along those lines too. When you think about the 3 most common things people do in recreation, number 1 is food, cooking. Okay, that's an open market. You do classes in that. People can come and take classes. And we've got classes next year in all kinds of different things, from baking bread to so on. So we've got things like that are in the future's work. The second thing is gardening. And I don't know how I could get into that, but that still is the second thing a lot of people invest time in. And the third thing right now is woodworking. And so you take these 3 things, and they are if somebody were to check a box by hobby, they would probably check one of these 3 things. Yeah. And so as we continue to grow, what I'd like to do is grow in areas where I think people are interested in learning more and doing more with it. The other thing that's a big goal for us is I'd love to figure out how to get younger people involved. Been that way from the beginning. I look at woodworking. Let's use woodworking as the focus of the school right now. Woodworking, I look at that as a mature craft. Now, when I say mature, I don't mean that in terms of responsibility. I mean an aged craft. Young people don't have space. They don't have money to go buy a planer. They're too busy working. Then they have a family, which is going to cost money. And so I look at people. It's this way. It was this way 40 years ago. It's this way today, and it's going to be this way 40 years from now. Yeah. That age group just doesn't happen.
Woodworking is not always cheap and inexpensive hobby.
Not at all.
It can be very...
Not at all.
Yeah.
And there's risks involved, and we kind of talked about those earlier. But for me, I would love to target that. I'd love to get more people in that age group, but historically, it just hasn't happened, nor do I think it will. But what I think is going to be a big detriment to us in that is that since the shop programs have been eliminated, those generations that are coming up now who were never exposed to that, they have to somehow learn that it exists.
Right.
And so that becomes a really big concern for me. Are these people, when they get to be 40 and 50 years old, going to want to make things?
But because a lot of the younger ones who are learning it digitally, whether it's YouTube or something like that. Like I went through. I actually went on the millwright side in high school through a VOTEC program, but for a little while I went into the woodworking side, just a little bit of a change up. And I always had, like, both of my instructors were, mentors to me. They were. It was a very, very meaningful relationships that we had in those programs, and I think that's a key part that probably this generation may miss out on because they don't have those programs as prominent as they used to be.
I believe history will go back and look at our educational program that we had during this time period, and they'll look at the mistake it was to take those trades out of the school. And that's everything from home economics to the welding to when I was in 8th grade, I took a foundry class. As an 8th grader, we poured aluminum.
That's cool.
And so I think history will look at this time as that was a bad educational choice for us.
One other aspect to the school that I think, I don't know, just in my perception of the culture I live in, the the level of artistry and the level of knowledge, the level of professionalism that you offer in your school, I mean, it is extremely technical at times. It's at the highest level of each individual technique, right? That's why you bring in the best. Mm-hmm. How do you perceive that today? Because I feel like a lot of things we do, we want to do it quick. We want to get it over with, or like we want to enjoy it to the point where like it's not cumbersome, which leaves us with mediocrity at times. Whereas to really be an expert, it takes time and dedication and commitment.
And one other thing, it takes an appreciation for your tools. And so John Economaki, he's the guy who used to own a company called Bridge City Tools.
Okay.
And he sold it a few years ago, but he made the finest hand tools probably ever made. They were expensive.
Yeah. Because
they were expensive, he got criticized a lot for selling a world-class tool. But John would always talk about, it's so hard for me to compete making a little 4-inch square with rosewood and brass, and it comes with the empirical testing of how perfectly square it is.
Yeah.
Versus today when you could go buy one, his at $100, and buy one today for $6.50. And when you buy paintbrushes, you throw them away anymore. When you buy wood scrapers, you throw them away anymore. And as we've become more of this disposable society for the tools that we use, we kind of lose the understanding and the respect it takes for the tools to do the work with you.
That's a great point.
And I think that that's something that has happened today too. Is we live in a disposable income. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I do the same thing. I throw my paintbrushes away instead of cleaning them. We have guys that teach
I'll be honest,
all the ways to clean a paintbrush.
I haven't gotten there
and you
yet.
got to be kidding me, man. I had to throw it away. But it's that I think that adds a little bit to the mindset of the quality. If it can be thrown away, if it's not something that I'm going to take home and my children's children are going to have someday, then it changes, I think, the attitude of the respect for quality.
Right. Well, and I'll tell you, like that's a really great point. And I mean, at Wood-Mizer, that is something we focus on intently about the quality of the equipment and the tools that we build for people. Because I would contend the reason why our customers have the success they have is, I mean, we fully believe it's because we build a very high quality piece of equipment that allows them to do the things that they do. And we're not going to compromise on that. Right. It is going to be the best in the industry.
And everybody knows that.
Yep. You're going to pay a little bit more.
Yep.
The same way with these, I mean, you can buy a set of $20 chisels.
Yeah.
Don't expect to do anything like these YouTube videos that you're watching, or anything. But it is worth paying a little bit more, especially if you are trying to hone in a craft that is meaningful to you and you want meaningful results. You can't do that with stuff that's not meaningful. You can't just have junk stuff to do that with.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of tools, hand tools, that mean an awful lot to me.
Yeah.
And, when I'm sitting down thinking about when I'm gone, I just don't want these tools to end up here. They have meaning to me.
Yeah.
And so I've already predestined exactly where, one of my friends might just get my mallet. Mm-hmm. And it might not have any meaning to mankind, but it meant a lot to me in my life.
Yeah.
And it's a high quality tool. And so in any case, Wood-Mizer is exactly there. Your stuff is incredible, very, very well made, durable. The other thing that you guys do is you guys support your tools. You have great tech people.
Oh, that's right.
When there's ever a problem or a question, you guys are right on top of it.
If it's not to our standard, we want to fix it. I mean, we want to make sure that it's...
Another proud reason to live in Indiana.
That's right. That's right. We're pretty proud of this state. I mean, in general, like we're a little bit proud of being from here for sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, 3 quick questions, and then we're gonna call it done. And for those of you watching this, I don't know if you can tell, but we're sweating bullets here. The air conditioner's not working. Like, it is hot in here. So 3 quick hot questions. What is your favorite wood species to work with?
Cherry.
You're the first person to not say walnut. I knew it. As soon as I said it, I knew it.
Years ago I was asked a question about the aroma of woodworking. And it was one of the magazines, and they were asking certain people anything for smell. And when I was a kid, when my dad was working in the shop, he was working with walnut. And that particular walnut he was working with had a very, very specific smell to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I still smell it every now and then. And when I smell it, I go back to that day. I see everything in color that I saw. I see him standing at the lathe exactly, but it's not all walnut.
Yeah.
But it's just that one smell. But walnut. Nah, I'm a curly maple and cherry guy. I love cherry.
Love curly maple. Absolutely. Yeah. Good. What's your most memorable project? I know this may be a hard one, but is there one that stands out?
Here's another blessing for me is that for the last 35 years, I've made my living as a professional woodworker, but I've never sold anything in those 35 years. So I only make things for me, for my family, and I do something really weird. Okay, I make Disney furniture, which is kind of a weird thing.
What does Disney furniture mean? You're going to have to explain that a little bit.
I have lectured at Disney for the Disney Craftsman. So I'll take something like in the movie Snow White. When Snow White's downstairs, she's cleaning up, she gets tired, she goes upstairs, and she falls asleep on 3 of the dwarfs' beds. Yeah. Happy, Sneezies, and Dopies. See, those were all carved beds. Now, they were hand-hewn, and they were kind of badly carved, but I remade that. So I did...
You remade the bed?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I've done a lot of things from Disney over the years. My bedroom suit for me and my wife took 10 years to make. That's all I worked on for 10 years. Whoa. And that is all from the movie Pocahontas, and it's all the marquetry work in it. And so I do a lot of carving on them and a lot of veneer and marquetry work, and I try to do it to the exact detail. So if there's a scene for example, in Snow White, there's a scene twice where they go up into the bedroom, and the bed is actually drawn different in both of those scenes. Oh. And nobody on earth would have known that but me. Right. But I try to keep the detail as exact and as accurate as I can, whether it's the color or the carving or whatever. And so that's what I've worked on. Now, the last big project that I've been on a marquetry series of making posters, theater posters for the last 15 years. But the last big project I made was the bed from Beauty and the Beast, which is the bed that Belle went to. And again, it's shown twice in that cartoon. It's drawn both times differently. Okay. So I had to choose between the two.
That's a big bed.
It's a big bed with big canopy. It was at our local museum for the last 6 months. I just got it back the other day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So that was a big one, and it was a fun project. It had a lot of carving in it, and so it was a good one.
Did you post these anywhere? Because I'm really interested to see some of that.
Nobody wants to see my work.
I want to see that. That's really cool. It's
okay.
Okay, last one. How much do you kind of answered this a little bit, but how much time do you spend woodworking today with your busy schedule?
During the summer?
Just in general.
Almost none. Yeah. I mentioned I got this big project that I'm working on where I'm making these posters, making these original posters that were in movie theaters from 1928 to 1935 that featured Mickey as an upcoming movie. Today you go and you see signs in a movie theater of upcoming movies. Well, they did that with Disney's cartoons. And so I've been in the process of making all of those from 1928 to 1935 that featured Mickey in the cartoon. And so
when you say making those, like out of wood?
I'm doing them as marquetry images. And it takes me a year to do each one. And so like right now, if I have any free time, I'll be working on the marquetry work for my upcoming one that I'll be doing this year. Okay. So I still do woodworking, but it's not making beds and chest of drawers and those kind of things right now. I'm taking a hiatus until I get through this series, and then I'll move back on to making something. I got grandkids, so I'll probably make something new for them from one of the movies. So
yeah, that's so cool.
It's a weird thing, but it's just what I've done.
I mean, I would say that's the artist side. You probably get to play on that a lot with that. Yeah. I mean, it's just how you're going to do it and stuff. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, Marc, thank you for being here, sitting in the, kind of the sauna here today.
Oh, this is great.
But I mean, really appreciate your time and just the conversation and sharing with us what you're doing. I agree. Like being in Indiana around what you're doing, what a lot of our counterparts and kind of what I would call, the side industries to what we get to be a part of is, I mean, I don't think there's a better place to do it than Indiana. Mm-hmm. And really look forward to, we're going to continue to work with you on anything you need us for and, just being down the road and look forward to seeing maybe those next steps. Maybe we'll see a little more land and a dormitory and all those things.
One of these days, we'll get you guys back down.
Absolutely. And to my fault, I fully intend to come visit you soon because I got to see this place. I was hoping to get there before this. But thank you for all you do. Thank you for the passion that you put into this and for investing in all of these different people. And, we look forward to getting to do that with you in the future and getting to see how you continue to change the world in woodworking.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.